Hello and welcome to the Moat. I'm Kyle Harbaugh. I'm joined here today by Ralph Watson, and we're going to be talking about the Moat, building a business that is hard to take, kill, and copy. And so we're going to be talking about real businesses, real decisions, real stakes, real revenue. And so, Ralph, glad to have you here. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for the invite. I know Sam's up to his, you know what, an alligator, so it's always a high honor and distinct privilege for me to sit in for him or for you. Uh, let's go. There's a lot to cover, and there's a lot of folks online that are wanting to hear what they can do as founders and owners of small to me. I hate to use the word small. Privately held or family owned uh, enterprises and businesses. Uh, every recession or depression we've ever gotten in, it's always been the small or privately held, family owned businesses that brought us out of it. And yet they're the most underserved market on the planet. And so I really appreciate being affiliated with an organization like Chief Go Officers that are using the tip of the spear. I mean, leading edge is almost not adequate enough to describe what you and Sam put together as founders. But to give the almost unfair advantage, if you will, to the smaller operators, those that are bright enough and smart enough and willing to open up to new ideas, an
Yeah.
unfair advantage over the big guys, which I understand is what we're kind of going to be talking about today.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you for that. And yeah, there is an interesting advantage to being small, to being nimble, to being more dynamic. And while the big guys absolutely have a place and fill a need, um, they're filled with all sorts of different people. And if you could build a really lean team of very entrepreneurial minded people, strong leaders who are innovative, you can really outmaneuver even the big fellas. And so that's partially what we're going to get into. Um, I wanted to say quickly that this is a live show. So if you have your you're a business owner, you want to bring a question, leave it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. We will answer your question live on air. If for some reason you have some questions, but you don't want to air them publicly, we're more than happy to talk with you and have a chat and help you understand what your biggest opportunities are to grow. And so I'm going to leave a link in the message or in the chat now, so that you can book a meeting with us if with one of our the people on our team, and let's get into our first topic, Ralph.
You know,
Wanted to
I always like to time stamp these. So today is live is on June 23rd.
That's right.
Just in case anybody is out there that might be watching a replay, you'll know how many days you missed.
Yeah, June 23rd, 2026. We're going to talk about some current events. We're going to talk about JP Morgan today.
Okay.
So JP Morgan recently spent a lot of money. A lot of money.
Mm.
$19 billion, actually more than $19 billion, to upgrade their tech stack. Um, it's up, it's an increase of 10% from last year. Um, they have over 400 AI projects going on right now. Analysts, management are working to frame and scale the competitive moat that smaller peers cannot simply match. The bank is redeploying AI efficiency into revenue, not cuts.
That's
So
interesting. That everybody's talking about AI is going to do away with people, and here you got such a huge monster in the financial services industry deploying gazillion dollars in AI, and they're basically saying we're not going to cut anybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of companies, they've never made a billion, not let alone 19 billion.
Yeah,
Um, so this is I see as a real competitive advantage that they're leaning into. They're actively saying we need to protect our market share. We
mhm,
need to continue to get better and continue to accelerate past others in the marketplace. And we're going to do it through AI and building efficiency.
yeah. It's interesting you framed that in the sense that they're trying to, you think with that kind of budget, it's no try. You just go out and buy. You
I
just
mean,
buy the solution. But I was sharing with Kyle this morning before went live about an article I read in Business Week back when Old Yellow was a pup. When I was like 20 years old, 20, 23, just kind of green at the gills. Uh, but they had a cover story about Coke and Pepsi. And I'm from Atlanta, so that's kind of Coke-ish. And we're in North Carolina, which is kind of Pepsi-ish. So we're not going to try to take sides here this morning. But these all these magazines, news magazines and business magazines, they'll publish a front page story or some story, and then the following week or the following month, generally these are all on weekly modes, but they'll have letters to the editor. And so after the issue following the Coke versus Pepsi cover story, some guy writes in and goes like, "What's the use for all these other old Coke, these other old soda companies? I mean, after all, Coke and Pepsi, they got the market, and they got everything." And well, as you can imagine, the CEO of Royal Crown was somewhat displeased over being marginalized or excluded. So the week following that letter to the editor, he sends a letter to the editor, and he said, just so everybody understands, Royal Crown put out the first Diet Cola, called it Diet Right. Royal Crown put out the first caffeine-free cola, called RC 100. Royal Crown put out the first lemon lime drink. I forget whether that was called Sunkissed or whatever it was. But his point was, innovation lives in the small business arena, because when you get to J.P. Morgan size, they're so institutionalized. They don't have a marketing department. They've got dozens of marketing departments for every financial product that they've got out there.
yeah, every
So
segment that they serve.
yeah, it's too much to be nimble and too costly to experiment, I guess. And so the old saying about the imitation is the serious form of flattery just doesn't quite hold in the marketing arena, because innovation has a life expectancy. It's a decaying asset.
Yeah.
I won't launch large on that, but as soon as a new idea comes up in any one of those 12 service areas that you seek go officers works in, uh, somebody else is out there to try to snack it up like Coke and Pepsi did with sugar free and diet and caffeine free and all the rest. So
Right. Yeah, and I think like Coca-Cola is just such an interesting example. I mean, we actually talked about it a bit in a previous episode, but like they still have that trade secret recipe that I wonder how many people actually know. It's very few, very few. But one, yeah, probably one. I'm gonna say less than five. I think more than one, less than five, um, have the recipe, and yes, that is a fantastic recipe. Obviously, Pepsi got pretty close, but they didn't quite get it. They got close, but they didn't do it. But then you have other brands that are new, like Poppy, and Poppy just got acquired, I believe, by Pepsi for over $1 billion.
Mhm.
So this is I really love Poppy, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm willing to do a little bit of third party advertising, although I try to shy away from that. Um, the product is awesome because it's like 25 to 35 calories, tastes awesome. It's prebiotic soda, and they have all sorts of really good flavors. They have some that are more like classic, like root beer, or like a cream, like a orange creamsicle. And then they have other ones that I really like a cherry limeade or a blueberry, and they're delicious, and they're a lot better for you than a Coke or a Pepsi. And
And you
so,
can place your order today with Kyle Harbaugh in our chat. Oh,
but like to your point, Ralph, about innovation, innovation happened. I mean, the story of Poppy is really interesting. Like the person who started Poppy, they were just looking for a more tasty way to create an apple cider vinegar type of drink
hmm.
that had the health benefits of an apple cider vinegar drink. But if you've ever drinking apple cider vinegar with water, yeah, it's pretty strong. It doesn't taste that great. It's kind of you got to psych yourself up for it, and you got to remind yourself that that
Good
it's good
for
for
me.
you.
Uh,
Yeah, it's good for you. And so um, you get innovation through the small from the more nimble businesses. I see a chat. It says one of my favorite movie quotes is there's three ways to make a living in business. The first, be smarter or cheat. Or yeah, so be smarter or cheat. um, yeah, there is that aspect that some people will cheat, and there's bad actors out there. There's people who are hackers. There's people who will walk away with your intellectual property or try to copy it in some way. And so we have to really remain in business and stay competitive. We need to continue to innovate, and we need to protect what we create. Okay. So they clarified. They said, be first, be smarter, or cheat. And I think that goes very well. Like you can be first and be the Coke, or you can maybe be smarter and innovate, or you got to protect yourself and protect that trade secret and cheat. So
you know, Kyle, in our day, with these Shopify and like you're saying, people just coming up with ideas and rolling them up, whether it was PayPal or uh, it just all of these major companies, ways.
mhm,
They start them off and it builds up and gain popularity. The next thing you know, um, Google's buying them out, or
that's
Snapple
right.
is being bought up by, I think, maybe Coke. So, as we're speaking to our audience today, we want to look at you guys as, or ladies, don't mean to be discriminatory here at all, um, as incubators, and because you're positioning yourself uh, in this current model to do something unique and innovative and market it well and gain followers, uh, and roll it up with the anticipation of a merger acquisition.
Yeah,
It's
significant
not like
exit.
these companies are being handed off to the second generation as in the old school, manufacturing type companies. Um, so we're talking to companies who have we're looking at you today saying you are a company who can be that.
That's
It's
right.
just a matter
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of getting everything put together properly, and
Mm,
that's where we want to come alongside it, if it makes sense, if it's a fit, to help make sure we touch all the bases.
yeah, and there's a lot of moving pieces to get a business ready for sale.
Oh yeah.
It's a team sport. We fill one position on that team, but there's other people who do other things that they're different. They're not in my wheelhouse. They're not in Ralph's wheelhouse or Sam's wheelhouse, and but it's a team sport. And to really get a business to a place where it can be sold, where it can be acquired, and there's significant value. I mean, people want to talk about selling their business. Well, it's one thing to like sell your business and take whatever offer happens to
Mhm.
come by. It's very different when you are positioned and prepared, and you don't have to sell, but if the right opportunity comes,
Mhm.
you're able to. and
If-
and then now you can shop around. You can weigh different options, weigh different structures, and you have a lot more leverage, honestly, in that negotiation than just somebody who's happens, they got to get out of it, and they got to sell, and they got to sell now, or they got to sell in the next 12 months.
Right.
You're just kind of taking whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
So
I think as this is a team sport, I think the goal for the team is to build a business that is not that can run without the daily oversight of the owner. That
absolutely.
the systems are in place so that you could walk out, go on a cruise with your wife or husband or spouse around the world. You're on the other side, and you can log on and look at two or three reports and know as much as you would about the business as if you were sitting behind your desk. Because
Yeah.
if you are still the operating system, you've got nothing to sell. So structuring that business where it can run without you, fire yourself. We're here to help you fire yourself.
Yeah, and have build a team around you
Yeah.
that builds and innovates and drives the business forward. So it's not just dependent on one person. I'm thinking about one of my clients that we worked with, and he goes, I love not being the only idea person. Like I felt like I was the one always coming up with ideas, and now I don't have to be. I can have you guys come up with some ideas, and I've empowered other people on my team to come up with ideas, and ideas can come from all sorts of different places. It doesn't necessarily have to be the owner, and it doesn't like we were talking about earlier, it doesn't have to be that big market leader. Some of the best innovation comes from these small businesses. And
Yeah, and
so,
inside the small business, it can come from the shop floor. I was division manager and operational director of a manufacturing plant, and we came across something came across my desk about a program they were marketing called Bad Idea. We're looking for bad ideas.
bad
And
ideas.
bad was an acronym for buck a day. And,
Mm,
you tell somebody, I want you to come up with an idea that saves us, I don't know, $200-300. You know, but you say, hey, we just want you to fill out, they all had little cards, and they could put their name, and here's a way we could save $1 a day. Everybody could figure that out, and they had little stretchy uh, dollar bills, and so that everybody turned one in and got a dollar bill. It's one of those whole big old things. Uh, but that's the point. The business owner, he's got idea guys out there, and the guy running that machine knows what's wrong with it better than
yeah.
anybody. So
That's right. And there's only so much you can focus on as a leader, and it is very valuable to hear from your employees and build a culture of ownership where they see and are rewarded for the part that they contribute getting everybody aligned and in this moving in the same direction and really trying to benefit the business, and everybody's going to win is very important. But that's a culture thing that it takes work. It takes
Absolutely.
intentionality to build something like that. It doesn't just happen automatically.
And consistency. Culture is built on consistency.
Correct. And rewards. I would say rewards or punishments. And a lot of people are punished, like they come up with an idea. Hey, I was thinking we could do this thing. Where it's like, and the manager might go like, uh, "Go back to work. We don't want to hear that." Or they might feel threatened by it. They might go like, "Well, why didn't I come up with that?" And they're threatened by the idea because they're supposed to be the manager or have all the answers. And I think that's just a really negative, toxic view of leadership.
Yes, they're not
Um,
going to, somebody that's not going to grow because at the end of the day, everything rises and falls on leadership. I don't care if it's business, government, school, church, you name it, family. It all rises and falls on leadership. And
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's why leadership is such a big part of what I talk about and what I'm passionate about. And so, good leadership, strong leadership, it recognizes that you don't know it all, and that you need other people to fill in the gaps and watch your back, so to speak.
uh,
That you can't see it all yourself.
in terms of J.P. Morgan, as you and I were discussing, and I was reading over the little synopsis here, it struck me as this is really a David versus Goliath uh, issue, and just because David was the smallest, and we understand God was in the in the projecting of the stone that took him down, it nonetheless underscores the fact that in some areas you don't have to be the biggest. And
Right.
we just mentioned marketing or messaging. Um, but you can if you don't mind, I'm just going to kind of tick down these 12 just to say there's innovation and I know I'm a little old school here, and Drucker might be kind of a little passe, but Drucker said in his big book, thick book, Management, maybe up there on the shelf, I think, there are only two functions of a business: uh, marketing and innovation. Marketing and innovation will make you money. Everything else is a cost. And so, as you think about these areas, any one of these can be innovated at any time, and most likely for not much if you focus on each one. So your product, sales, what's your what's your message, service, and
Hmm.
anybody can look at their service and figure out a little bit better way to do it. How to scale your technology, and that's where we're at with the whole artificial uh, intelligence. We don't like that artificial, uh, but it's
Human intelligence
human and
augmented by AI. It's
automated human
HI with
intelligence.
AI is really is
But
really
your
what we like.
yeah, your people, your human resources, your operations, the risk that you're assuming or not assuming, messaging, which is in a sense your marketing, and we've just been mentioning leadership. And if you as a business owner are not engaged in some form of daily leadership focus, uh, you know, you're missing it. I encourage you to handbook on leadership, and I know that came up as a mirror image, but and the last one is networking, and I even put kind of joint
Networking. Yep.
venture stuff. But
Yep.
those are the
I,
12,
I, I
12
got it.
areas.
I got a great little graphic for that.
Okie
So right
dokie.
here, this is where we analyze a business. We analyze it in 12 key areas. So you can do one really well. You might do a couple really well, but unless you have a shared leadership team, you're not going to be able to focus on all 12 of these well. And so oftentimes what I see happen is a very heavy focus on a few of these elements, and a complete neglect or an under focus on some other areas. So, for instance, you might be really focused on sales and and marketing, messaging, but you might not be very focused on your operations, your actual service delivery. And so you might have a you might be able to figure out a better way to serve your clients if you had more focus on operations. But a lot of times people are just so focused on one thing that they neglect another thing, and there's everything's connected, everything's
Yeah.
serves the business. So um,
I'm
I want
glad
to
you put that.
quickly stop here for just a moment and say this episode is brought to you by Chief Go Officers. We're consultants that help you identify your five largest opportunities for growth, get you a clear picture of where you should focus for the next 6 to 18 months that are really going to move your business forward. And if anything resonates with you today, love to have a chat. If you have a question, let us know in the chat. If you want to speak privately, we have a link there where you can schedule time with our team. So this is the moat, and let's get back into it, Ralph. Um,
I am thrilled to death that you put that circle up there.
yeah,
I can promise all our viewers that we have never seen that completed before, where everybody is 100% in all 12 of those areas. It
yeah,
all
that's the ideal, 100% in all of them.
right.
No, or most of the time our charts
Yeah,
are very, like I said, one-sided. It's we got a big focus over here, and small little slivers over here,
yeah,
and
they're all
yeah,
chopped up. When we actually run one of those for actual company, they're all over the place in all of those. And you mentioned like somebody in sales. It's what they're comfortable in.
yeah,
And so many of the business owners come up in sales. They're out there selling, and it's their normal uh, mode to kind of sell them their way out of a problem.
yeah,
And early in my career, I had about half my experience was in sales and half in operations, which made me kind of an odd duck, because there's just this kind of a thing with sales and operations. Operations can't get sales projections, and therefore they're not quite doing what they need over in the manufacturing plan. And then, the sales guys are going, "Why can't y'all deliver?" And so it's a, but that's where leadership comes in and trying to level all that out. But I
yeah.
will say
Align those two different teams
yeah,
and let them know that they serve each other, and have them communicate in a way where they can understand the needs of each team, and then how to meet those needs, and get everybody aligned and moving and rowing in the same direction. I mean, that's very important, but it takes work. It takes intentionality. It doesn't just happen.
and here's a kind of a funny story, I guess. I think I've shared it with you before, but um, I was in sales with Southland, and an operational position came up as a division manager of a manufacturing plant, and I was I don't know what you call it, promoted or put in that operational role. And the vice president or sales manager said, "Well, now Ralph, which one do you like the best, sales or operations?" And I'll try to leave the last name off. I said, "Well, Gene, I look at business like a football team. You got an offense, you got a defense." He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I like that." And I said, "Sales, that being his specialty, sales job is to score, put points on the board." "Yeah, yeah, I like that." And I said, "Operations is more like the defense. Their job is to, give good field position, so it makes it easy uh, for the offense to score and not be scored on." "Oh
Correct.
yeah, yeah, that's good." And I said, what every great football coach says, don't you? He's like, "Well, what's that?" That's when I had the hook set, and I just kind of set the hook there. I said that the best offense is a good defense. And this is where you see the tragedy as a leader, where they see themselves in opposition, and yet if operations is not doing the job, all sales, and I'm speaking from a food processing manufacturing perspective, they're going to create more quality problems that your salespeople aren't going to be able to call on new prospects because they're all running around trying to solve quality or service or delivery issues or whatever. So,
Right.
without bringing those in alignment,
Yep.
and as the prophet Isaiah says, come guys, let us reason together.
Yep.
we, we are not on the, we're saying, we are actually on the same team.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I'm thinking about a client, somebody I used to work with, and they go, um, they were spending just an absurd amount of money on marketing. They were spending for the size of their business, they're spending over $1 million on marketing. They're doing six figures of marketing every month,
Mm.
and the problem is they couldn't back up what they were putting out there, and they really burned their reputation.
Yeah.
And there was a better way to do it. There was a better way to um, approach, like growth. Like, yes, we need marketing. Marketing is important. Marketing is a very key aspect, and it's one of the 12 areas that we look at. However, it's not the whole thing. You got to be able to back up your promises. And so having your operations all figured out, having the people in as part of that operation, is really important. And if you have people problems, it's going to bleed over to operations, and
Bingo.
it's going to bleed over to all sorts of other things. You're going to invite new risks into your business, and so you have to think holistically about your business and how it all works together. And otherwise, you can get in some big trouble. They ended up having to get a PR firm. They had to hire a PR firm, spend lots of money with that PR firm to revitalize their reputation that they had earned that was not so positive.
Yeah. I mean, I know a company that spent $1 million and didn't get the first sale because they missed their target market.
Mm,
They were advertised. It was a health company that specialized in doing testing outside that normally only available inside a hospital. So, like pilots would go get all these tests done before they went for their actual FAA physical,
mm,
uh, and they were trying to sell these CEOs on the idea you need to come in when the real target was their wives. you
mm.
know, if the wives, who are on the A list, social A list, if husband dies, she's off. So if they'd have been advertising to the wives, they'd have been dragging those pilots in there kicking and screaming, and company CEOs too, by the way, or husbands. I mean, just to keep this all gender neutral here. uh, but
I,
yeah,
I, I can I can say for me personally, there's been a few times where my wife's like, "You should go get that looked like," and I looked at it, and I'm like, "I'll be fine, no worries,
it doesn't
not a
work for
big
me.
deal." And then she like later on, it's like, "Hey, aren't you glad that you finally took my
Yeah,
advice and you had a chat with your doctor?"
yeah.
Yeah,
If I
thank you for
come in and
that.
go, I got this little thing, and she doesn't even ask. I mean, I'm in the doctor's office 3 o'clock that afternoon. Next available, that's me.
Hey, I
Oh,
want to back up real fast because I did see a question here that I didn't answer, and I want to back up and deliver on my promise to answer questions. So protecting IP. Um, I'm not an IP lawyer. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I can tell you, there's different strengths. There's different things you can do to protect your intellectual property, your ideas, and so like, one would be copyright, and there would be a copyright, and so that's like for a written work, and then you have A patent would be like for a physical thing, but then like Coca-Cola, that's not patented anywhere. Their recipe is not patented because the thing about a patent is it only lasts for so long. I don't remember how many years. I want to say like 20-ish years. Um, but the issue is it's published. It's hey, this is what their recipe is, or this is what the function, how the product functions, and it's out there for people to see. And sometimes this is actually a strategy. Going back to what Sam said earlier about cheating. Um, it was like Apple. Let's just talk about Apple real fast. It was part of their strategy to rip off people's IP, and they knew that it was gonna they were gonna get fined, and they were gonna have to go through litigation, but it was worth it to go through that litigation. And actually, some people wouldn't enforce the patent, and so they could just rip it off and get away with it until they were told not to rip it off anymore. And that was their strategy for years and years. And
That's
so,
too
so
too little, too late. And without getting it into any political anything, there's a lot of international uh, espionage, corporate espionage, industrial espionage that's out there to steal your stuff. And you mentioned Coke again, so I'm just going to have to speak up as a Georgia boy. The lore, the folklore
Mhm.
is that actually the Coke formula is divided into three separate,
Oh,
yeah,
oh,
parts,
interesting.
and different heirs of the Chandler fortune own those three different parts. So it's mutually assured destruction.
That's
Everybody,
interesting. It almost reminds me of you want to send off the nuclear missile, you got to have the keys. One guy has a key, another guy has a key. They both turn them. Now they
yeah,
can launch.
that's actually what the old safety deposit box worked at the bank. You could go in if you found somebody's key, you didn't just go in the bank and open it. You had to go to the bank to verify who you are, and they had their key to get in there. So yeah, that's. But you're right, and people need to understand that the difference between, say, a corporate name, which is registered at the state, and a trademark, which is federal. Somebody can go register your name in another state as a business, uh, but if you haven't trademarked it, and a lot of companies they they get in business, and I see this all the time. We're not in the law firm, we, here's the disclaimer. We
Yeah.
don't give out
This is not legal advice. This
legal
is not
or
legal advice. Go
financial
consult your
advice,
lawyer,
okay,
who's a
tax
subject matter
advice,
expert.
none of that stuff here. Um, but people will invariably they'll get in business. They'll get a name. They'll register to open up a bank account. And then they get busy in the business, and they don't take care of the corporate level. There's a corporate organization, and then there's an organizational piece. And if you don't take time to take care of your corporate records, your and making sure that you've got all because people grow up in business and never trademarked a thing, and buying, next thing you know, they've lost it.
Yeah, yeah, you get a letter one day, a cease and desist, and the person who actually owns your name is not you, and it's
Right.
somebody else. And um, yeah, I mean, hopefully you have a good contingency plan for something along those lines. If
Mm.
yeah, you find yourself in that situation, you need to make a pivot quickly. And you need to be recognizable to your customers. Now, here's the thing, they might be able to take your name, but maybe they can't replicate the way you serve your customers.
Yeah.
And so there are these durable moats that can help your business stay alive, and really, I would say your custom being known for customer service, putting the customer first, is very, very important, and can go a long way and can help you in a difficult season like that.
Yeah. And I mean, your customers is your are your your best salespeople. That word of mouth,
Yeah. Yeah.
and people are, uh, and particularly with online businesses. And I know this may not be our core, but um, people are living and dying on those 5-star ratings. You if you're dissatisfied and you threaten to give them a 1 star, I mean they're jumping through the internet trying to say, whoa, wait a minute, time out. I'm sure you misunderstood what I said because that ain't what we're going. That's not how we're going to handle you.
Yeah, well, I think some people understand that,
Yeah.
and I think you're absolutely right. And then other people uh, fail to see just how impactful a negative review can be.
Well,
Um,
and you're from the legal side, and there are these I forget what this thing is, identity defender or reputation defender or
sure.
something.
Yep.
There's actual companies out there that help people clean up their internet profile,
That's
and
right.
so it's important to do business on the up and up, uh, realizing that there are nefarious people out there who would try to besmirch your name and your company just because, as you were saying earlier, uh, to cheat,
Yep.
to throw people off, and so there's so many when you're talking about protecting your moat. There's just a lot of areas. We deal with 12 of them, but we don't deal with all of them. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
what
I mean,
happens is you got legal issues, don't call chief go officers.
right. Yeah.
That's legal
We'll
recommendation.
give you the strategy and identify the risk. Like, hey, you need to go solve this, but yeah, we
Yeah,
can't get you to the end state to really solve that issue.
yeah.
Um, yeah, which is a great segue. That we're chief go officers. We help you work in your or on your business, not in your business. We are fractional leaders that help you understand what your direction should be, what your 5 largest opportunities for growth are, or what your big risks are that you need to address to really grow your business. Um, and so, if this sounds like something that would be helpful to you, I'd love to have a conversation, see if it makes sense to work together, and identify your 5 largest opportunities for growth. Um, Want to talk to you now, Ralph, about another brand. We talk about a lot of times people come to us, they have 3 problems, or they can boil down into 3 problems: time, money, or people. And Skechers recently, the company Skechers, the shoe manufacturer, got bought out, and it's really actually kind of an interesting story. So I'll read this here. It says, Brazilian private equity firm 3G Capital surprised the market by taking Skechers USA private in a $9 billion transaction. The move lets the brand rebuild long term strategy away from Wall Street's quarterly scrutiny, following similar moves by other consumer brands, giving them operational freedom. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, there's a lot to be said for having control of your company.
Yeah,
That because you understand it better than anybody. You don't, these uh, publicly traded companies having to make quarterly hit their quarterly estimates in order to show value tends to encourage somebody to make short-term uh, decisions at the expense of long-term profitability.
right,
So it may give legs, but it cuts off the wings. uh,
right. Yep,
so I mean it's expensive to buy them back, but even some of the corporations. Um, I mean, I think even the federal government's trying to buy back treasury bills so they're not indebted to the Chinese or the Japanese or to whoever is currently holding the U.S. Treasury bonds that are not aligning with us philosophically. So, yeah, you know that they're spending, they're taking money, um, um, swapping money for people and time, um, and time is really something you cannot buy. You can't.
Yeah, you can't like create it, but
Yeah,
you can you know there's this idea of leverage
yeah,
that you can achieve more through more people, or say through like we were talking about earlier with AI. AI is just a tool. It just enables people to do things better, faster. But if you have the wrong direction, um, you might be accelerating in an unhelpful manner. You might be scaling chaos. You may not be going in the direction that you want to go. You might not be achieving the thing that you say you really want to achieve. And so you got to be thoughtful about how you're enabling people. And I think in this example, the time aspect, you know, to realize, okay, if we want to make the right changes, do what's best for the customer, do what's best for the company, we may have we may see a dip, and then we're going to see a much better return after, but it's going to take some pain to get there. I'm thinking of a company that we spoke with, and they did exactly that. They saw that they had a very big bench of people. They weren't bad people. They were just not the right people. They were kind of what we'd call C players, and so they had plateaued. They weren't really making any more money. They couldn't get past it, and so they had to restructure the whole team. They ended up turning over a bunch of people. They got a lot clearer about different roles within the organization, and they ended up having a much better hiring strategy and attracting the right people. And from there, they were able to really build a world class team, a team of A players that were all moving in the same direction, that had more expertise, that could serve their clients at a higher level. And now they're far more profitable, and so they have less people. They're making more money with those less people, and because they got very focused on who they needed to bring into their business, and they got selective about who they shouldn't have in their business any longer because growth wasn't happening.
yeah. Well, you know, as you and I were discussing in our pre-show discussion, and you just hit the line there about AI is an enablement tools to make people more productive.
Right.
And then as you know, as I said, then the question becomes, how do you make people more productive? Because you know, we all know nobody knows what they don't know.
That's right.
You know, here's the pad, here's the paper, write what you don't know. You can't do it. And so nobody has 2020 vision on product and sales and service and scale and technology and finance and people and operations and risk and messaging and leadership and networking.
That's
We
right.
don't.
That's
And
right.
so
And
what you and Sam have been able to do is put together a
methodology,
proprietary, yeah, proprietary AI methodology that can receive input based on the corporate culture, input from the people, you obviously all the financials, uh, that can then use the accumulated wisdom of Drucker and marketing with Kennedy and sales from
well, it's not just
well,
those guys. I mean, it's 167 different experts. And
yeah,
so really it gives you a full analysis of your business. I mean, imagine how much it would cost to get 167 of the best experts, the big thought leaders, of these various industries in a room to evaluate your business.
Let me tell
Well,
you what it would take to get one of them.
yeah, I mean,
One, probably,
probably at least $10,000 in a day.
probably 20. I was going to say 20.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. Some of them I know. I know people who they're 50,000 a day.
if you can
They're
get them.
Yeah, if you can get them, if they want to even solve that problem,
Yeah.
because they're choosy about what problems they solve, and
And so,
so
and then, when you do know what your top five are, it's a matter of keeping first things first.
yeah,
So
staying focused.
you go attack problem number one, and then number one goes to the back of the line, and then number two becomes number one.
That's right.
Take
That's
care of
right.
number two, and then number three becomes number one. But it gives you a clear vision. It eliminates your blind spots.
Right.
And again, people in leadership, we're just innately comfort driven.
Yep.
We want to avoid pain, and so we don't understand those financials. So I don't even bring. Just tell me what's on the bottom line. I don't want to be bothered with all that other stuff like accounts receivable and but inventory levels. But it takes it's it's so I hate to use the word agnostic, but that seems to be one of those words as far as uh, it doesn't care what your strength is, or it doesn't care what your weakness is. It's going to analyze this, with all 12 of these areas with the thought leaders, and as we were to tell you to come up with those top five based on, that uh, I think it's like 4 million years now of whatever information, but you mentioned
It's a ton of
time.
experience. I'm not exactly sure how many years of experience it has. But the cool thing is, it's not just AI running, doing its own thing. It's no, it's very purpose built.
Right.
It's a closed system. It's something that we use internally. We verify on the front end and the back end, so it's human in the loop, and it's really a great way that we can drill down quickly to understand where we need to focus, so we're not spinning our wheels on a bunch of different things that um, seem like a problem, but really they're a symptom of a deeper problem.
Yeah.
And so this really helps you understand where you need to focus your time, money, and effort to get the biggest return on your investment,
Yeah.
what things are going to move your business forward, and really help you to grow and get to that next level. And so it's something that we were very proud of. It's also something we've tested a lot at this point, and we've been able to see some really significant results for the clients who have decided to work with us.
Well, I want to make one more comment, and then I'm going to let you close it out because as you talk about money, people, and time.
Right.
The old back in the day before AI, it's like if you got two of the three, you're in good shape. If you got enough people and money, you can take your time. You
Hmm.
know, if you got time and people, you can get to the money. If you got money and time, you can get the right people. Here's a spoiler alert, everybody. Spoiler alert. Time is fast. And if I've heard Sam say, um, we've progressed 100 years in the last five.
Yeah,
Really, we do not have time. Time is it's the great equalizer. Everybody's
that's
got
right.
24 hours in a day, and if
Yep.
you take
Everybody.
time out here trying to figure it out, by trial and error, you're not going to be around long. So anything you can do to get to the core, figure out what's going on in the business, um, sooner, quicker, faster, stronger. Uh, money should not be an object. I mean, it really, you cannot, you cannot replace the wisdom, the priorities, of what you need to be focused on, whether you're comfortable with it or not. So I yield the balance of my time to the gentleman from Missouri.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. Like, you can solve a few different problems a few different ways, and some people choose time. They want to work through it and figure it out and work on their own. And then other people would rather just trade some money and figure it out a lot faster, and have somebody help them come alongside them, and help them through it, or actually do the work for them. Um, that's a different approach. You can approach these problems a few different ways. Um, it's just how quickly you want to get there.
I mean, here's the
And
truth of the matter, though, Kyle. If you take time to figure it out, by the
right.
time you figured it out, the problem has changed.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
whole landscape
especially
has changed. Now you got to figure it out again. So
that's a
time
great
is of
point.
essence.
The way how quickly things are moving, I do agree with that. That things are changing faster than ever before. So being able to quickly shift and or quickly understand what your issues are, where you need to focus to really grow your business. That's very valuable. You're making better use of the time that you have, and so yeah, it's gonna be it's to really figure out where you need to focus your time and effort the most effectively. You need an outside perspective. It's just very difficult to read the label from inside the jar, and so I and like going back to our Skechers example, they knew what they needed to do, and hopefully these changes are going to go well for them. It's we'll see, but they're going to work on their operations, and they want to get away from the demands of reporting quarterly earnings, and there's probably going to be an adjustment period, and long term they believe that there's an advantage to be sought, an advantage to be gained if they go this route. And so I'm interested. We'll see where it goes. I really like Skechers as a brand. They make some nice shoes, and so I'm hoping I get some better shoes out of the deal.
Okay, we're not going to do a thing like we did for Poppy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I won't. We won't. We won't
Poppy
talk about it.
in the
But
chat
you know
box,
what?
but not Skechers.
I like talking about brands that I know that I have experience with, um, and so that's why I thought this recent occurrence was an interesting one to bring up.
Well,
Um,
that's why customer experience is such a big issue as you go through this list of 12.
yeah.
What's,
So
what's
treat
the
me right.
customer?
Make my client experience good, and maybe I'll talk about you on the show. All right. Well, Ralph, hey, it's been a pleasure speaking with
No,
you.
it's been
Um,
a hoot.
yeah, it's been good. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, or send me a DM on LinkedIn, and or you can come to the next live show, which will be tomorrow. We'll answer your question there, or you can look in the chat, and I'll put the link again, and you can schedule a time to get your question answered privately, if that makes more sense. But it's this is Kyle Harbaugh signing off for the Moat. Thanks a lot for coming, and you have a good one. Keep building that moat.